Who could have thought anyone could succeed in evading the FBI? This is a story of the man FBI could not apprehend. The day before Thanksgiving, November 24th, 1971, was a very important day in the story of a strange crime. This crime became famous all over America, and people still talk about it today. Families everywhere were getting ready to celebrate Thanksgiving. Airports were very busy with people traveling to see their families. But at the airport in Portland, Oregon, something very unusual was about to happen. A man came to the ticket counter of Northwest Orient Airlines. He told the person working there that his name was Dan Cooper. He bought a ticket to fly to Seattle, Washington. The ticket was for a one-way trip, which meant he only wanted to go to Seattle and didn't plan to come back. The man didn't look like anyone special. He seemed like someone you might easily forget. People who saw him said he was a white man, probably in his mid-40s. He was about 5 feet 10 inches tall, and his body was neither too fat nor too thin. He had dark hair that was combed neatly. He wore a dark business suit, a white shirt, and a thin black tie. His clothes made him look like a businessman, maybe someone who traveled for work, like a salesman, or someone who worked in an office. There was nothing about how he looked or acted that made anyone think he was going to do something so strange. He paid for his ticket with cash, which would later make people even more curious about who he was. The plane he was going to fly on was Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305. It was a Boeing 727-100, a kind of plane that was very common in America at that time. It was known for being reliable, and many airlines used it for their flights. The Boeing 727 had a special design with its tail shaped like a T and stairs at the back that could open while the plane was flying. This special feature would become very important in Cooper's plan. When the passengers got on the plane, Cooper went to a seat in the back. He asked a flight attendant for a bourbon and soda, which is a type of alcoholic drink. Then he lit a cigarette. He seemed calm and watched what was happening as the plane got ready to take off. The flight to Seattle-Tacoma International Airport was going to be short, only about 30 minutes. It seemed like a normal, quick trip for everyone on the plane. But soon after the plane took off, around 3 p.m., Cooper did something unexpected. He gave a note to the flight attendant who was taking care of the passengers in his area. Her name was Florence Schaffner. She was busy with her job and was used to passengers giving her notes, like when a businessman would give her his phone number. So at first she thought Cooper's note was something like that. She put the note in her bag, planning to read it later. But Cooper acted strangely. He told her she needed to read the note right away. When Schaffner realized this was not a normal note, she started to feel worried. The message inside was written in big, clear letters, and it was very scary. It said, "I have a bomb in my briefcase. You are a hostage." The words were simple but very frightening. The way Cooper said them, in a calm and almost polite voice, made them even more chilling. To show Schaffner that he was serious, Cooper opened his black briefcase. She saw what looked like a bomb. Inside, there was a jumble of wires, red sticks that looked like dynamite, and a battery. It's not clear if it was a real bomb, but it looked real enough to terrify anyone. Even though he had what looked like a bomb, Cooper stayed calm. He didn't yell or act crazy. He spoke in a steady voice and told Schaffner exactly what he wanted. He demanded $200,000 in $20 bills. He wanted the money to be unmarked, meaning the bills couldn't be easily traced. $200,000 was a lot of money in 1971, and it would be worth much more today. Cooper also wanted 4 parachutes, 2 main ones and 2 backup ones. He said they had to be regular parachutes that worked. Schaffner was very scared. She went to the cockpit and told the pilots about the hijacking. The pilot in charge, Captain William Scott, contacted air traffic control, and the FBI was called in quickly. A very serious situation was now happening high in the sky above the Pacific Northwest. But the other people on the plane didn't know anything about it. They thought it was a normal, short flight and had no idea about the danger and drama taking place. Officials on the ground in Seattle started working quickly to get what Cooper wanted. The lives of the crew members were in danger, so time was very important. Finally, the plane landed in Seattle. Cooper watched closely as the authorities brought the money in a bag and the 4 parachutes to the plane. Then Cooper did something surprising. He let the 36 passengers leave the plane. They were scared but not hurt. They got off the plane and went into the airport terminal, very relieved that the terrifying experience was over. But the crew members had to stay on the plane. They were still Cooper's hostages. After getting what he wanted, Cooper did something unexpected. Instead of just disappearing into the crowd, as many people might have thought, he ordered the plane to take off again. This time he wanted to go south towards Mexico City. This didn't make sense to the investigators. Mexico City was too far for the plane to fly without more fuel. This made them think that Cooper didn't really plan to go there. They believed his real plan was somewhere much closer, in the wild areas of the Pacific Northwest. Cooper gave very specific instructions for the second part of the flight. He wanted the plane to fly low, below 10,000 feet, and slow at around 200 knots. He also ordered that the air pressure inside the plane be normal and that the stairs at the back of the plane be open. As the 727 flew south, with the crew in the cockpit, Cooper got ready for his escape. He did this somewhere between Seattle and Reno, over the rugged and heavily wooded land of southwestern Washington. At approximately 8 p.m., he opened the stairs at the back of the plane. The plane was flying through a dark and stormy night, with heavy rain and strong winds. Wearing one of the parachutes and carrying the bag with the $200,000 ransom, Cooper jumped into the darkness. The pilots were busy flying the plane, as Cooper had told them. They were in the cockpit and couldn't see him jump. All they knew was that he was gone. The conditions were very dangerous. It was dark, raining hard, and the winds were strong. The land below was rough and uneven. Even for someone who knew how to skydive, this was a very risky jump. Cooper was dressed in a business suit and loafers, not like someone prepared for a difficult jump. Cooper's disappearance led to a huge search. It was one of the biggest and most confusing searches in the history of the FBI. The FBI called it NORJAC, which stood for Northwest Hijacking. Hundreds of FBI agents were involved, along with police officers, military personnel, and even regular citizens. The area where they thought Cooper might have landed was huge and difficult to search. It had thick forests, steep mountains, fast-flowing rivers, and remote wilderness. Finding any sign of Cooper in such a vast and challenging place seemed almost impossible. FBI agents searched the forest carefully. They talked to people who might have seen something. They looked into many clues and ideas. They studied the things Cooper left behind on the plane, including his black tie. They hoped to find something that would tell them who he was. Artists drew pictures of what Cooper might look like, based on what the flight crew remembered. Florence Schaffner, the flight attendant who had spent the most time talking to Cooper, helped a lot with this. The investigation went on for many years. It cost a lot of money and used a lot of people, but they found very little real evidence. The mystery about what happened to Cooper got even more confusing in 1980, almost 10 years after the hijacking. An 8-year-old boy named Brian Ingram was playing on the banks of the Columbia River near Vancouver, Washington. He was there with his family on a camping trip. While making a place for a campfire, he found 3 packets of old, decaying $20 bills. Even though they were falling apart, they were still held together by old rubber bands. The serial numbers on the bills matched the numbers on the money given to D.B. Cooper. The discovery of the money caused a lot of excitement and speculation. It was the first real proof that connected to the ransom money, but it also made the mystery even bigger. How did the money end up on the riverbank? Did Cooper survive the jump and then die later, with the money washing downstream? Or did the bag holding the money break open when he landed, scattering some of the bills? The place where the money was found, several miles west of where they thought he jumped, made people wonder even more. Because there was not much clear evidence, many different theories arose about what might have happened to D.B. Cooper. People were very interested in the mystery. Many books, documentaries, and investigations by ordinary citizens tried to solve the puzzle. One popular idea is that Cooper was an experienced parachutist, maybe someone with military training. This theory says that he planned the hijacking and his escape very carefully. He landed safely in the remote wilderness, disappeared into the vast Pacific Northwest, and started a new life, far away from the police. He used his skills to avoid being caught and enjoy the money he had stolen. Another idea, just as likely, is that Cooper was not prepared for such a dangerous jump, even if he had some skydiving experience. Jumping out of a 727 at night, in a storm, with poor visibility, and over rough land, was very risky. He might have been hurt when he landed, or he might have died from being exposed to the harsh conditions. According to this theory, the money found on the riverbank could have fallen out of his bag when he landed and been carried downstream by the river. The discovery of the money also led to the money wash theory. This idea suggests that the bag holding the ransom money broke open when it hit the ground or the water because of the force of the landing. The Columbia River, with its strong currents, then carried some of the money downstream, and it ended up on the sandbar where Brian Ingram found it. This theory explains why only a small amount of money was found and where it was located. However, it doesn't explain what happened to Cooper. The D.B. Cooper case had a long-lasting impact on how airlines keep people safe and the rules for air travel. The hijacking showed that there were weaknesses in the security measures at the time. This led to important changes in how planes were designed and what security steps were taken. One of the most important changes was the Cooper vane. This was a device put on the tail of Boeing 727s to prevent the back stairs from being opened during flight. This made it impossible for someone to do a similar hijacking and parachute escape. The hijacking also led to stricter security measures at airports and more thorough checks of passengers. Before the D.B. Cooper incident, airport security was much more relaxed than it is today. Passengers were not routinely checked, and carry-on bags were rarely inspected. The Cooper case showed that stronger security was needed to prevent future hijackings and keep passengers and crew safe. The story of D.B. Cooper caught the attention of the public and became a legend in America. The daring nature of the crime, the mystery of who the hijacker was, and his complete disappearance made people of all ages fascinated and intrigued. The case has inspired many books, documentaries, songs, and movies, each trying to solve the mystery and offer their own ideas about who Cooper was and what happened to him. The D.B. Cooper case continues to be appealing because of the many unanswered questions. Who was D.B. Cooper? What did he really want? Was he a professional criminal, someone who was angry with his job, or just someone who saw an opportunity? Did he survive the jump? And if he did, what happened to him? Where is the rest of the money, and what secrets does it hold? These questions still fascinate investigators, amateur detectives, and the general public. The D.B. Cooper case remains the only unsolved skyjacking in U.S. history. It shows how powerful mystery can be, how much the unknown attracts people, and how one person can confuse law enforcement and capture the attention of the entire world. The FBI officially stopped investigating the D.B. Cooper case in 2016 after searching for 45 years without success. But even though the case is closed, the legend of D.B. Cooper lives on. His name will always be associated with one of America's most famous and captivating unsolved mysteries. Will we ever truly know what happened to D.B. Cooper? We invite you to subscribe to our channel for more in-depth explorations of fascinating and enigmatic stories from history.